Well, we welcome you back to the GT Cup Europe Championship for the 2025 season finale weekend. We are here at Monza ahead of our first race of the weekend that could yet decide the fate of every single championship in every single class. Autodromo Monza, the destination, 5.793 kilometers, 11 turns, 7 to the right, 4 to the left, 50 minutes of action with a driver change period from the 21st to the 29th minute. We've got air temperature standing at 19 degrees, 58% humidity that continues to fall, track temperature now at an almighty 30 degrees as well. We are pretty much at optimal levels in terms of track temp right now. The fans are starting to flock into the grandstands, getting ready for what I'm sure will be a blockbuster contest. At the top of the order, we talk about the championship. It's Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franca on 106 points coming into the weekend. 24 points ahead of Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani. Those are the two pairings that we need to focus on today in terms of the overall championship. 18 points being the gap if you apply the drop scores that we can collate from the races that we have had, though today's race and tomorrow's race could play a part in that too. But regardless of that fact, if the gap extends enough, which it could do today, if Rodriguez and Franca remain in front of Longoni and Armani in today's race, then the title will have been decided. Laura van den Hengel and Paul Meijer also chasing Pro-Am glory. They come in on 57 points. Of course, no drop scores because of the disasters they had at Portimao and Hockenheim, but in actual eventuality, they could become their greatest asset. Davide Scanicchio, Fabio Babini, currently occupying 11 points back from them in terms of minus drop scores with 46 points in between themselves and Paul Meijer, Laura van den Hengel. AM class as well, Dieter Schweppes, Leandro Martins, currently sat on 55, 16 points ahead of H. de Mello as it stands. Of course, H. de Mello will be looking to put in a mighty stint, but Schweppes and Martins have been oh so consistent all season long. The only flaw in their run has really featured at Barcelona, where for the first time this season they scored no points in race 2. A mouth-watering contest in prospect, titles on the line. We could crown all three today. George Morgan in the commentary box alongside me. It's Chris Stevens.
And Paul Meijer getting it done in qualifying. In 6 out of his 6 qualifying sessions, he's been on pole position in all of them. Almighty effort. That Burgers Motorsport by Huntsveiss Motorsport car, starting at the head of the order, ahead of one of our sort of guest-entered cars, so to speak, the Easy Race Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo of Diego De Fabio. Both silver class drivers starting at the head of the field, as is, of course, Luca Franca in the silver class car, Stevens Longin, Ludovico Laurini in the number 93, which is the sister car from Fimes team. That's a silver class car as well. And then Mike Hadler in the Hadler Motorsports car. He's the silver in that one. So you have to go down a little bit before you start to find the top bronze drivers, which is Paolo Nemi in the Ebby Motors car that he shares with Cosmo Papi.
That's what you call aggressive tyre warming.
There's a lot of effort being put into warming the Michelin rubber today. We saw Paul Meijer as he came out of the pit lane absolutely light up the rear tyres. So despite a track temperature of 30 degrees, clearly they're feeling the need to put an awful lot of energy into the Michelin rubber. But yeah, an interesting race in prospect here. Paul Meijer 6 out of 6 as we mentioned, and his teammate Laura van den Hengel aiming to become the first woman to win a title in GT Sport competition. This car, the 911, Leandro Martins Motorsport, new team for this year after they split from the Racar squad last year, but going for back-to-back AM titles are Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins. And talking of team accolades as well, Fimes team, in their first year of competition in association with the Black Drome outfit as well, going for the championship overall, as we mentioned.
Yeah, obviously if the Huntsveiss Motorsport car, the Porsche being driven by Paul Meijer at the moment and Laura van den Hengel later on, it'd be the first Porsche Pro-Am champion since Jan Lauritsen back in 2022 for Q1 track racing. Jan Lauritsen was somewhat dominant that campaign. He went on to win the overall championship in 2022 as well for Q1. Of course, Pro-Am was, at that time, the overarching category. Of course, nowadays we get to enjoy the silver class variety as well, which is going to be contested out between, like we alluded to, Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franca, Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani. There is work to be done, though, if you are Longoni, because you're currently sat down in 9th place for the start of this race. Bear in mind, Paul Meijer starting on pole position. So that first stint is going to be oh so important for Longoni, Chris.
It certainly is, but you never know. The pace may swing back to the ZRS pairing in the second part of the race. Of course, there will be a driver change. 21 minutes into the race, they can come in and do their stop. And, of course, drivers quicker than others, so that may swing around back in ZRS's favour. They're returning to the series this year and say fighting for the championship. But you would think that potentially when Pietro Armani gets aboard, there might be a bit more speed in that car, having driven this car for a little bit longer. His 3rd year racing Porsche Cup machinery.
Yeah. Fans are all there in the grandstands as well. Monza, as always, a popular venue for motorsport fans, young and old. And we now take a look at our pole sitter, Paul Meijer. Be hoping to take this one home after racking together.
He knows what the job he's got to do. And that's it. Burgers have got one of their race trailers in display in the main part of the paddock this weekend as well. And I did poke my nose in and asked how much it might cost. And a little bit out of my price range. And to be honest, I don't know where I'd park it either.
No, that's probably a fair point. We take a look at our championship leaders as well. Luca Franca, Ian Rodriguez. They're alongside Stinas Longin as well. Nicholas Salins, who will also be taking over when the time comes as well. Those two have been quite the force in Pro-Am class as of recent years. Ludovico Lorini as well, starting from 5th. On the grid. We're hoping for a good run as well in the silver class. We've got Mike Halder, Halder Motorsport. We welcome them to the championship at the same time. Of course, Mike Halder, a TCR Spain champion, an Italy champion, runner-up in Germany, Denmark runner-up as well. Lars Zanen starting 7th place as well for the for his drive. And we also have further back then Paolo Nemi, who will line up alongside him as well, raising that Italian flag here at the Italian circuit of Monza. The 22, of course, we're just currently seeing on our screens, Ludovico Longoni in contest for the title. Will be handing over to former single-seater driver Pietro Armani, thriving in Porsche competition.
That certainly is. Racing in the Italian Championship. Knows this circuit well from his Super Cup wildcards as well. A cracking grid of what is largely Porsche Cup machinery.
Well, let's take a look back at Barcelona. Once again, it was Hans Wies Motorsport on top ahead of the first race. And it was a busy start as well. Of course, Paul Meijer looking to get off to a perfect start here for his team. Coming through the middle sector, was met with quite close quarter action, though. Lars Zanen also in the mix, trying to fight with him as well. The 53 was right in the heat of the action. Did their absolute best to try and raise the stakes ahead of this Italian round. It was also a great drive on part of the 22 of Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani, who would eventually cross the line, though, and come out as winners of our opening race. Then got underway for our next race, race 2. Luca Franca and Rodriguez getting off to a decent start. They were eventually taken, though. We did see an incident as well on the bend coming through Verth Curve, where cars were then getting sprung up, moving on to the gravel. Rodriguez and Franca, though, continued to dominate. They had a fantastic run through the course of the race. Lesser sights for other cars out on track, however, that included Lars Zanen once again. A huge clatter from the 44 as well, the GDL Racing Porsche. But it was a great win for Franca and Rodriguez, teeing up what could be a big day, a big afternoon, as they look to go hunting for the championship title. And here's how the standings currently look. Rodriguez and Franca on 106, 24 ahead of Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani as it stands. They sit on 82. Paul Meijer, Laura van den Hengel chasing Pro-Am success. They're on 69 as we speak. To go out and for us to go racing, first and foremost, let's go through the starting grid. Front row and pole position, Paul Meijer, 6 out of 6. he starts on top, ahead of Diego Di Fabio in his first start of the season. Luca Franca bidding to win the championship title for his team. Further back then, we also have Stinas Long in alongside him. Ludovico Larini starts from 5th alongside Mark Halder in his first start here this afternoon in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Lars Zanen starts in 7th place alongside Paolo Nemi as well. Moving down to P9, it's fellow championship contender Ludovico Longoni, who, remember, will be swapping out for Pietro Armani. Diego Nunez starting P10, will be handing over to Peter Furter. Andrea Galli starts 11th alongside Giacomo Giobergia in 12th, with a move down to 13th place, and it's Gianluca Giorgi starting in 13th alongside H. De Mello, also in the heat of a championship battle over AM class. Then the AM leader is Leandro Martin starting from 15th alongside Davide Scanicchio, will be swapping in or out for Fabio Babini. They're chasing Pro-Am success with Nicholas van Dierendonk starting 17th for Q1 Track Racing. Sebastian Fortuna starts in 18th. 19th spot, we then go to R01 with Camel Perrion alongside Stefano Zerbi in 20th place. Luciano Privatello will be starting from 21st alongside Annie Frosio, who returned later on into the season, back again, looking to contest for better success. Then starting from the back of the grid, it's Riccardo Romagnoli in the Porsche 992. So those are your cars, 23 in total. Will start this race one of the weekend here at Monza. But it may be race one of the weekend. It could prove to be the most integral and important race of the weekend in the GT Cup Europe Championship as well, Chris.
That could be. We could leave here today with all three of our champions crowned, but 50 minutes of racing in between now and then, though. So anything can happen. And usually does here at Monza. It's a beautiful day for racing. We've got another classic Porsche v Ferrari battle up at the front of the field, thanks to Easy Race and Diego Di Fabio. So let's see if that Ferrari grunt can make a difference on the long run down towards the Rettifilo chicane. And keep an eye out as well on the AM class battle as well. That is very close in the mid-pack. And, of course, these two Pro-Am cars at the head of the field, they'll be handing over to bronze drivers in the second part of the race. So watch for the silver class cars making their way through at that stage.
Of course, largely over the last 2 years, we've been obviously celebrating the success of Ferrari in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Obviously, that will largely change this weekend with, obviously, Rodriguez and Franca currently top of the championship, with Longoni and Armani hunting them down. But now the squad of 23 will make their way down through towards the line. The safety car peeling into the pits. Paul Meijer on the right as you're looking at it, soon to be the left as we look at it head on as well, with Diego Di Fabio for company as they now commit to their lines. Their line astern down through towards the lights that blaze red. They go green. And for the final weekend of the GT Cup Europe, we put pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great starts for Luca Franca, and Paul Meijer not getting the best of starts at all. Diego Di Fabio will take the race lead away from him. A very rare misstep there for Paul Meijer as down the inside.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, the championship leader contesting, colliding with Diego Di Fabio and sending him off the track. We got more cars going off wide, and that includes the 22 and the other championship contender, Ludovico Longoni. Chaos at the start of the race, Chris.
Yeah, guys, there was a chicane there you were supposed to take, not just straight line everything. I think it was about 10th place where a car actually took the actual racetrack. So, well, there's going to be an awful lot for race control to take a look at there. Very, very clumsy stuff. It all started at the front. I think with Paul Meijer getting a little bit out of shape. I didn't see if there was contact between the top two. Hopefully we'll get to see it again. But they're back on the racetrack now. That's the important thing. This is Paul Meijer's view now. Face full of a pair of Porsches in the middle of the second Lesmo, and that car was checking up right in front of him, which should be Ludovico Larini. And now he's got one car on the outside as well. Potentially Mike Halder is coming at him on the outside. We'll see when they get down into Ascari. Actually, it's the... which one is it? Yeah, it is the Halder car, isn't it? That's... just behind him. So that's the TCR champion, who is trying to usurp the Pro-Am championship leader in this class. On board here with the ZRS car. Now, where have they at? Ludovico Longoni down in 15th place. at the moment. Awful start for them in a race where they need to beat the Fimes car. He's got the AM Championship leader right in front of him. Here comes Halder again on the outside of Paul Meijer. So it's Diego De Fabio who leads at the end of the first lap. Luca Franca, Stevens long in, and then it's side by side for fourth position with Paul Meijer. And look at that, Halder on the inside and trying to take Stina's Longing as well for third position. Welcome to GT Cup. Oh, that was contact though between him and the Fimes car, but they both got away with it.
Yeah, back comes Paul Meijer
No,
again.
they didn't. No, they didn't. The Fimes car slowly, rear suspension damage, I would suspect, or front suspension.
Doesn't look good at all. Paul Meijer managing to recover that place back. De Fabio kind of got away with it, to be honest with you, as down the inside comes Paul Meijer, at least trying to defend the place against the 53 of Lars Zanen, who now drops back in behind Paul Meijer. So it's fifth place for Meijer now, the Dutch driver, looking to now try and regain the places that were lost. Such a dramatic start for Paul Meijer. Very rarely do those things happen to him. Obviously, he got underway. It wasn't the greatest of getaways, Chris. Now the gravel is kicked up again, and I believe that was either Stina's Longin who was responsible for that, or perhaps even Luca Franca further up the order. We know that he traipsed in there in our qualifying session earlier on today.
I think it was both of them.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it was a few cars, actually, skimming the gravel. Cars cutting turn one under investigation, according to race control. We're going to be here all night, aren't we, at this rate, trying to figure out who should be getting penalties.
I mean, there was quite a few that got caught in there. I mean, Longoni was one of them.
Half the field.
I mean, like Longoni, obviously his largely won't necessarily be investigated unless someone pushed him in there. Of course, that might be investigated, but it was more to the point. Some of the drivers taking the escape road. I mean, De Fabio took it and then obviously rejoined. Now, whether they have something to say about De Fabio escaping, but then again, you could argue he was almost chauffeured there in some way. But Mike Halder, purple in the middle sector. We'll wait and see what they say anyway when we
need to see it again.
Yeah,
really.
we do ideally need to see a replay if we do. But we take a look now as the drivers make their way through the Rettifilo chicane. There is De Fabio in the Ferrari, and the sole Ferrari we're going to be witnessing out on track here as they storm through around the Curva Grande. Further back, Franca, Longin, then Halder, Meijer. Down in fifth at the moment, but now starting to close up to the back of Halder at this moment in time. Remember, Halder making the move earlier on, managing to get past Paul Meijer, who is so vehemently quick. Has a look to the inside, Paul Meijer, not quite there to make the move coming in towards the Rogers chicane, but will be in close quarter with Mark Halder, looking to return that P4 spot.
So Meijer hot on the flash button, going into the first Lesmo. It's a new thing for Halder Motorsports, really, to be running this car. I know Mike knows the car somewhat from Carrera Cup Germany, but the team run by the brother-sister combination of Mike and Michelle, and doing a great job. Is really into the thick of the action. They just said, we're just here to test. We are just here to find our feet and evaluate if we want to join the championship
I'd argue this
next year.
shows more commitment than that.
It does a little bit, doesn't it? And, well, good for them.
Yeah, always great to have new teams here in the GT Cup Europe, and I must say we've enjoyed some immense growth over the last few years, that's for sure, and obviously that's led to the expansion of classes now that we have Silver as well as Pro-Am and Am featuring, which is always a pleasant sight to see, as now Paul Meijer once again looks to hunt down Mike Halder over that P4 position. Can he use any ounce of slipstream to close up, or will Halder recompense that with slipstream on Stina's Longin? We'll find out now. Longin now 1.2 back from Franca, who in turn 2.5 seconds back from De Fabio. Of course, if it stays like this, Franca and Rodriguez will be crowned champions.
So De Fabio doing the fastest lap of the race, 2.6 seconds, near enough clear of all the rabble behind him. The battle is on for third position, isn't it, really? Oh, actually, Halder dropping off the back of Stina's Longin ever so slightly, and so it's a question of whether Paul Meijer can get himself back up the order a little bit. Of course, not just dropping overall positions, but losing places to his Pro-Am class rivals, but actually critically ahead of the car that they need to finish ahead of. But remember, it's Davide Scanicchio in the Tsunami cars, their bronze driver. When he hands over to Fabio Babini, might be a very different story. And they have to outscore the Burgers car in order to keep the championship alive.
Yeah, they must do. in order to give themselves a chance then heading into race 2 tomorrow. But at the moment, Paul Meijer doing what's necessary. Now has a look up the inside, this time fed up of waiting behind Mike Halder and moves into 4th. Paul Meijer finally getting it done. But can he break away from Halder in behind, who gets a lovely run out of the Ascari chicane? And he might get a sense of urgency here, Mike Halder, determined probably to at least remain in the fray over this P4. Doesn't want to allow Meijer to get away, because we know what he's like when he's in front here, Paul Meijer. And not opting for the move straight off the back coming in towards Alboreto. But I must say, Halder plugged in very much so to the back of Paul Meijer's car as they storm down the long straight. Stina's long in there in the distance in front of them. He's also closing on the back of Luca Franca. Meijer will surely have to somewhat go defensive on the run down through towards the first chicane. Let's take a look at the replay from the start, Chris.
Right, so it's a good launch from the Ferrari. The Fimes car got a great launch, and I was worried he was going to end up on the grass there for a second. The touch for De Falbo was Luca Franca getting into the back of him. So Paul Meijer's having his own little wobble. Franca gets into the back of De Fabio. So fair game in terms of the Ferrari cutting the chicane. No one else had an excuse, I don't think.
No, I think Paul Meijer was just a case that he outbroke himself, or whether he just had too many cars on his inside, Chris.
He's just outbraked himself.
Yeah,
That's it.
there we go.
Yeah, Stina's login. Maybe even got into the back of the Fimes car as well. But come on, you lot. Take the racetrack. Oh, God, that was quite a hit, actually, wasn't it? Looks much more big from that angle. I'll tell you what everyone else has done. They're reacting to the cars at the front of the field. So if the cars at the head of the field outbrake themselves and everyone's going off of what they're doing, then no one else has got their braking right either.
No, that's right. Obviously, Paul Meijer will be frustrated with that because he knows what he's capable of in a weekend of much significance. We'll take a look at the slow-mo as well of them coming through turn 2. You can just see the contact there on the 741 met with the 93.
Yeah, so that car, there's the Larini car that's now in pit lane, and so it is probably front right suspension damage, I would think. But the rear of that Porsche is obviously made of quite stern stuff, because Mike Halder is still lapping very competitively.
Yeah, still doing very well indeed. Remains on the back of Paul Meijer. 4/10 between them at the moment. Longin has done a great job as well, closing up to Luca Franca. It's now 6/10 between them. De Fabio continues to wander off into the distance.
Longoni's made up a few places. There's always up to 12th now in the ZRS car that went through the gravel on the first lap.
Yeah, they come down now in towards the Rettifilio again. This time Longin up close and personal with our championship leaders overall. Of course, that's not an issue necessarily for Franca, though I'm sure they're just looking to maximise as much as they can. Certainly owing to the fact that Longoni's down into 12th. Obviously, they're going to need to do something when the driver change window comes around, try and pull off some kind of exercise in order to close the gap on Franca and Rodriguez by that extension. Of course, Rodriguez will be hopping in place of Franca when the time comes as they sweep down through towards the first Lesmo. There's a tight group now starting to form with Longin currently operating in 3rd, and he's towing along the rest of them. This is the move that Paul Meijer had made on Mike Halder earlier on. Great move there from Paul Meijer up the inside of the Ascari. We're right on board as he pulls off that exploit, committed to the curb on the inside, found his way into 4th place. There's your race leader, Diego De Fabio, in his first weekend in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Coming in with easy race Ferrari with their Ferrari 488 Challenge. Driver, coach generally, and an instructor, but stepping in alongside Lorenzo Bottempelli, who will be hopping into the car for the second stint in this race, and he comes in as a dental surgeon. So free dental, I'd imagine, if you're Diego De Fabio.
Also, you don't want to get on the wrong side of a dentist, though, do you? They can do unspeakable things to you.
Yeah, they certainly can. Obviously, they'll be hoping for no root canals or fillings in this race.
Just going to let that one linger for a little bit. So it is De Fabio extending his advantage. 4.4 seconds at the head of the field. Closing up nicely, though, with Franca and Longin, and now Paul Meijer. As again, Meijer getting himself a little deep into the first chicane at the Rettifilio.
Bit keen, I think.
A little bit, yeah. But this Stina's Longin looking very quick in that Q1 track racing car that hasn't put together the Pro-Am Championship bout that we were expecting. Of course, was an overall contender last year, back when Pro-Am was the top class, and we thought that a second year in this championship for the former GT2 teammates would be a very strong pairing, but it hasn't really come to the foray, but really putting some pressure on the championship leader now, who I'm sure has got to have some front-end damage on that car from what was quite a surprisingly hefty whack at the start of the race.
And that's really going to put him up against it now, Luca Franca, because now Longin has got the outside after Franca went into the gravel. Again, I mentioned it. He did that on the opening lap as well. Paul Meijer sensing an opportunity as well, but it shuts him in, well, immediately by Franca, who now restores himself back into second place. But for a brief moment, I'm surprised, really, that Stine Longin couldn't take advantage of that.
There was an open door there, wasn't there? But didn't quite manage to get it done. Franco had enough momentum, and actually now it's Meijer he's worried about in his mirrors. As he's soaking up the slipstream to the outside of the Alboreto curve. And it's going to be very difficult to try and make a move stick around there, but squares the car up very nicely. He's thinking about the run down the start and finish straight. We get the fantastic shot of them coming out of the final corner, and it seemed like Paul Meijer already had the momentum he needed. No, ducks back into the slipstream. So trying to get the toe here as Longin is defensive, going towards the Rettifilio chicane. Now Paul can't get too deep on the brakes because Luca Franca's right there in front of him. And it's all fairly even Stevens when they actually do get into the Rettifilio. Yeah,
coming out now of the first chicane. They've got another one to come, and it's 3 cars, all line astern near enough, pretty much. They're all queued up for a pop at Franca right now. P2 could be on the table, and Meijer is very much willing to walk through that door. He may have had an opportunity here to take on Longin because Franca is trying to defend him more than Meijer at the moment, but no avenue for the move to be made. Great defensive effort here from Franca so far. We've seen it a couple of times now over the course of the last 2 laps, certainly after that trip into the second Lesmo gravel trap, but now still occupying that second place, doing a fantastic job keeping Stine Longin behind, and Paul Meijer more and more, I'd imagine, getting frustrated at the current situation, because remember, he's going to be swapping for a driver change soon enough. 7 minutes to go, and it's wheel to wheel between Paul Meijer now this time, dueling it out over third place. He's got a nose in front here, has he not, on Stine Longin? Longin, though, with a better line at Ascari, but Meyer's done enough and has moved his way inside the top 3 as they now enter sector 3 proper, and it will be Franca second, Meijer third, Longin down in 4th.
Now that's critical because it's second in Pro-Am as well. So great move there from Paul Meijer. Of course, going to be coming into this with a little bit of handicap as well based on their results in Barcelona. Let's see the move again. So great run out of Lesmo 2. Big outbraking maneuver on the outside line here as well. And cuts across the nose of Stine Longin.
Yeah, just looking to the outside, the momentum was what was crucial in that exchange between those two. Stine Longin, who had done a great job to bring himself into the proximity of Luca Franca. Well, now Paul Meijer is going to exercise that. And now, with just Franca's car in front, it's a great chance for him to have that clean air that he oh so strives for, and therefore giving Laura van den Hengel the car in a perfect place. Obviously, while the Pro-Am win might be out the window, judging from what we're seeing here from Diego De Fabio, obviously we're still yet to see his teammate jump into the car, but albeit a huge opportunity here for Burgers to now really lay down the hammer in this championship contest. They could come out of this as Pro-Am champions as long as it maintains like this.
He's monstering the curves and is now up into second place there, ahead of Luca Franca. This is how he did it on the run out of the Della Roggia chicane and on the inside of the first Lesmo. Lovely stuff. So Paul Meijer regaining his composure after a very difficult start to this race. He's now got clear air in front of him, well, about 6 seconds of it anyway. Really needs to utilize that over the next few laps before he hands over to Laura van den Hengel.
Well, judging from what I'm seeing, I think he'll have probably around 3 laps maximum, perhaps, I would say, over the...
He's going to go to the end of the driver change window, though, won't he? So,
well, that's true. Actually, that's true. Until the driver change window opens, and so it'll be open for around, what, 12 minutes. So think about it, he's got quite a lot of time. So he should be okay, Paul Meijer. So he's going to now knuckle down, see whether he can draw anything off De Fabio up at the front. Obviously, the gap right now, 5.9 seconds. The last lap, it was a 1:49.097 for De Fabio. And in fact, Paul Meijer was faster than De Fabio over the last lap. And bear in mind, De Fabio, clear air and nothing in front of him. Of course, Paul Meijer has been making moves over the course of the last lap, and he did a 1:48.7, 3/10 quicker than De Fabio. So what will he do in clear air, Chris?
Now, all that was in the last sector as well. So when he did have that clean air, let's see what Paul Meijer can do with a bit of clear air. Of course, that is his class rival as well, Diego De Fabio. And he's a bit of an unknown quantity as well, was Lorenzo Bontempelli, who's hugely experienced in Ferrari Challenge machinery, going all the way back to the 360, which was about, what, 3 or 4 generations of car ago.
Yeah, was Bontempelli GT Open champion back in 2011, and looking to return to GT Sport, but albeit in GT Cup competition this time around. And, I'm sure wouldn't have missed a beat. He has done quite a lot in between. So now watch Paul Meijer starting to drift further and further clear of Franke now. And in fact, Franke's going to renew his dogfight with Stinas Longin, who is all over his heels there. A lot of gravel getting kicked up across the Ascari chicane, as it was through the course of qualifying. Further back, we do have Lars Zanen and Diego Nunes then further back, and also Nemi then a distant 4.4 in behind him, as now Longin gets ever closer to the back of Luca Franke.
I would say H. de Mello is closing in on Nemi as well for the lead in the AM category. That's only 0.7 of a second, and closing with Giacomo Gibergia not too far behind them as well. A game on here for third position. Stinas Longin, that Q1 Track Racing car. Q1 Track Racing have been the benchmark in this championship for oh so long. It's changing now, but he's going to the outside of the new protagonist in this championship. Can't do anything into the first chicane, though.
No, not at all. See, at the moment, it looks like that Meijer's operating at approximately 0.7 of a second, a lap faster than Diego De Fabio, certainly based on our last lap anyway, 0.7 quicker than the Ferrari out in front. So a great chance here now for Meijer to really hustle in the time before his driver change comes into play, or before he chooses to box anyway. The gap, I think getting, well, she wasn't 0.7, do apologise, misread it, 0.5. Do apologise there, folks.
Still a good chunk.
Still a good chunk, though, we'll give him that. 0.4, obviously, if you figure that in, so still a mighty portion of this race to go. 30 minutes and 40 left to go. 5.4 seconds the gap, 1.5 now between Franke and Meijer, but it's 0.2 between Longin and Franke at the moment, as we now watch the drivers make their way around the circuit. Here we go again.
Longoni here up to 11th now. Oh, no, he isn't.
12th still.
Just updated. I could have sworn it said 11th a minute ago. Yeah. But on the back of Andrea Gali, number 9 SP Racing team. That's another of our guest cars for this weekend, which are not eligible for points, nor are they blocking points as well. So in terms of point scoring, they are effectively ghost cars out there. That's to prevent teams from adding a load of cars to disrupt championship fight in the last round.
Yeah, Diego De Fabio's last lap was in fact a purple lap, but Paul Meijer's just ripped it away straight away after a purple middle sector that certainly has made somewhat of a difference. I will say De Fabio was quicker in the final sector on that last lap.
Yeah, it was only about a 10th between them in the end, so De Fabio's starting to respond.
Yeah, I think he's having to, because he knows how quick Meijer is. The gap has been brought down to 5.1 seconds. Remember, it was 5.7 before when we checked earlier on. So 0.6 better in the hands of Meijer as they now fly down through towards the Roger chicane. Franke now, but still Stinas Longin on his tail as they come through the second chicane on the course, and then further back Lars Zanen and Diego Nunes still duking it out. We've got a stewards decision, car 57, so that's Nicholas van Dierendonk getting a 5-second time penalty, which will be added to the race time after contact with car 70, and that is Gianluca Gheorghi down in 16th place.
Presumably that was at the start of the race when a few more cars ventured into the gravel trap and off the road, as the driver change window is now open. So teams can start coming in. I wonder if Feinstein will take this opportunity to pull Luca Franke in now. As further back, we've got contact between the RO1 racing car Camel Perian and the Sebastian Fortuna Ebby Motors Porsche down into the first chicane. So first car's into pit lane, and it is the 55 as first one in, with Stefano Zerbi handing over to Eugenio Pisani, race leader, and Paul Meijer as well. You'd imagine they'll carry on for a little bit as the pros in their Pro-Am cars. As again, Paul Meijer doing the fastest lap of the race last time around. And yes, Luca Franca is into pit lane. So first of the leaders to come in, handing over to Ian Rodriguez.
Yeah, Annie Frozier also stepping in. We see the return of Ivan Velasco, former champion, of course reigning champion in fact, went back-to-back, first and foremost with Jorge Cabezas, and then the season afterwards it was Luca Ludwig who accompanied him to the title last season, and now we welcome him back to the championship.
How could we forget the weekend here last year when it was Luca Ludwig competing in this and the Finale Mondiale as well, and taking
literally just arrived to the circuit as the change was in progress.
No, he missed it because he was taking helicopters between here and Imola, and it was Velasco came into pit lane and no driver to hand the car over to.
Yeah.
Car 24 under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. That is usually fairly one and done, and that would be the Lamborghini that Annie Ferozio has just handed over to Ivan Velasco. That hasn't even left the box yet. So, unfortunately, that would be Annie Ferozio, who was probably committed that particular discrepancy.
Phenomenal exchange here between Paul Meijer and Di Fabio. They may not be battling in person just yet, but they've been exchanging hot laps as it stands. It's 4.7 now. Meijer's done a sterling job to rein that stint in, but Di Fabio went purple in the first sector on this particular lap as the Vimes team complete their driver change. Ian Rodriguez in the car in place of Luca Franca. More swaps occurring as well. Lamborghini, another one. Luciano Privitello and Donovan Privitello now swapping places, as Donovan will now take the seat.
Yep, so that's the father handing over to the son. In that car. Oh, contact for the two championship contenders. Yeah. Extraordinary. So Pietro Armani had just come out of pit lane as well. They shouldn't be so close on the road, should they? I know that the Fimes car had a handicap, but this is suddenly top two in the championship, banging doors at the Rettifilio chicane, and now squabbling on the way into the Della Roggia as well. And look at that. The ZRS car with a big dive on the inside.
And they cleared it before the Roggia as well. Great effort from Pietro Armani. Ian Rodriguez now has been left behind him and is now at the mercy of the AM Championship leader as well. I believe that's Leandro Martin's car. Side by side, though, rubbing shoulders, the two championship protagonists.
But that was a dive, though, wasn't it, from Armani?
He might get...
He'll come under scrutiny for that.
Yeah, he might well do. The stewards might take a look, a dim view at that one. Armani may have got the move done coming in towards the Roggia, but a significant moment as the battles unfold. Remember, Pietro Armani trying to keep their title hopes alive.
Well, extraordinary stuff. Again, you can't ever assume you know what's going to happen next, can you? And it's Dieter Schweppes on the back of Ian Rodriguez now. And Dieter Schweppes, despite being a bronze driver, very rapid driver indeed. It's bronze more by default, not really because of his speed. And in fact, he's going for the move. That's the AM Championship leader passing the overall championship leader down into the Alboreto curve. Now, I wonder if there was any damage done by that contact with the ZRS car as Rodriguez tries to take the place back on Dieter Schweppes there. Side by side down the start and finish straight. Neither giving a quarter there as look how much traffic they're going to be in. This handicap as they've lost so much time as a result of that. Yep, Lorenzo Bontempelli about to take over the car. Now, they could have squeezed another lap out of Diego Di Fabio there, but it's Bontempelli who's about to take over.
So now Paul Meyer's got a chance, really, to bring that time well and truly back in, because he's going to continue around the circuit at least for another lap or so. He might even be able to get another one in after this one.
It's true, but remember, he's got to take handicap because they won in the last race in Barcelona, and that easy race car is not eligible for points.
No.
So even if they would finish second to it on the road, they'd still get the victory's worth of points.
Yeah. So,
but something tells me it's not quite going to end like this based on what we've seen so far.
No, it's been extraordinarily close, and we're still watching now as it looks like Schweppes has managed to consolidate the move on Ian Rodriguez for now. And of course, they're hoping to sign off this weekend with the AM Championship in the palm of their hands, arriving in on 52 points. H. de Mello is their main concern at the moment. As now we see the Schweppes and Rodriguez names update on our timing screen, with 12th place now in the hands of Dieter Schweppes with a stop already made. It just leaves Meijer, Halder and Nunes, who have yet to take the box just yet. Bontempelli now on an outlap. There he is now, looking to rejoin the circuit. He's got obviously a Lamborghini just in behind as well. I believe that's Simon Velasco, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's a lap down.
Yeah, he's just making his way down in towards turn one. Has actually outbroke himself at the same time. So that's going to, once again, lose him yet more time as the hazards are flashed on the 403 that has just made it stop. Bontempelli, net race leader as it stands.
So it's Paul Meijer, Mike Adler and Diego Nunes, the last three cars yet to stop, which they'll have to do on this lap. So the Burgers car, the Halder car and the LMR Pro-Am car. And in fact, right on cue, here's Paul Meijer ready to hand over to Laura van den Hengel, but you can see a hefty handicap there of 90 seconds that they'll have to serve. That includes the minimum pit stop time as well. And there's Laura ready to take over the car, and in about 23 minutes time could become the first woman to win a title in GT Sport competition.
It's going to need to be a good stop as well for the Hans Wies Motorsport team as the Halder Motorsport car steps in, the 741 that Mike Halder brought to the party. Now it's René Polfsen who's going to look to take over. As now we witness them make their way through the Lesmo. There is Dieter Schweppes in the background. Of course, was passed by Pietro Armani earlier on, who's trying to close up on the back of Giacomo Gerbergia. That's a silver class car against an AM right now. H. de Mello in front of them in the 44, who of course is looking to try and tussle with Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martin. Schweppes currently behind H. de Mello as it stands. But we'll soon see as to whether Schweppes can close to the back of H. de Mello before this race comes to an end. If he does and passes him and gains significant points, of course, by and large, Schweppes and Martin should leave race one as champions anyway. As now we see Laura van den Hengel rejoin the circuit now. Where will she come out in all the midst of this? Already Bontempelli, Fernandez moving past, so does Nicholas Salens, and it looks like it's going to be fourth place for Laura van den Hengel as she comes out behind Nicholas Salens, with Polfsen Furter now joining in front of H. de Mello.
Armani going for a move as well. I'm on the AM cars and, well, just completely cut the first element of the chicane there. I've never seen a more blatant abuse of track limits. He'll argue he was avoiding contact, but then he shouldn't be lunging an amateur driver like that, really, should he? Oh, slow-moving car right in front of them. That looked like the Peter Furter car that seems to be going very, very slowly. That looked like the LMR car. No?
No, René Polfsen, is it? René Polfsen, because he's just dropped down a couple of places. So
must be.
I think it's René Polfsen. Of course, this is his first weekend here in the GT Cup Europe Championship and seemingly having some problems. Here we go again. Yes, he's going to lose another one because
No, that isn't that... oh, no. Sorry. They're so similar looking cars. I thought for a second that was Armani trying to give places back to the car that he lunged, but no, you're right. That was the Hadler car.
Yeah, and he's just lost another one because in comes Ian Rodriguez now as well. So he's going to move on his outside. Definitely some issues there for René Polfsen, who's now losing and forfeiting yet more spots. So now Dieter Schweppes has moved through. We'll update on our screen now as they make their way through the Ascari chicane. And there we have it. Yet another place lost. Ian Rodriguez through. And next will be the turn of Daniel Kazaniga, who'll be looking to jump past. And he's right on the tail right now of René Polfsen. And Schweppes, as a consequence of this, getting closer and closer to the back of Giacomo Gerbergia and be hoping to close on the back of H. de Mello.
Yeah, I think it would still be okay for the championship for them, wouldn't it? But there is Kazaniga, who's just made that move in the SB Racing car. So, astonishingly, it's Goncalo Fernandez who's come out in second place somehow in the 53 Q1 car. But, oh, look at this. Armani going to try and take two in one here. That could have ended in tears. Well, he's off the road, technically. And, oh, contact between the Furter car and H. de Mello in the 44. So, contact for the AM leader, and that has dropped the LMR car quite a few places there to to Armani and Jabergia and Sveps as well.
Peter Furter dropping down, Sveps and Rodriguez moving through. And 9th place now for Rodriguez, who's now 6/10 away from Sveps. It still remained on the tail of the LMR Motorsport car, despite being overtaken by Sveps quite some time ago. And that is mainly due because Sveps has been stuck behind Jabergia for some time. Obviously, that's a battle over AM-class podium at the moment. In fact, AM leader also part of this. Let's take a look at this again. So there is Armani up the inside. No issues with track limits coming through the first half of the Retta video. Overextended a little bit. Peter Furter, there was just simply no room for him, with Giacomo Giabergia also making the most of the course, as we now see them just exiting again. Yeah, just ran out of racing room, really, at that point. So the second LMR car getting caught up in a little bit of chaos, as Laura van den Hengel sees the gap between herself and Pietro Armani start to reduce dramatically. It's 4.3 now between them. H. DeMello now 1.1 away, and is finding himself closer and closer into the clutches of Giacomo Giabergia and Dieter Sveps right now. So a big class battle about to happen in AM.
It certainly is, isn't it? And that includes the two protagonists in the championship as well, DeMello and Sveps. So there is Armani in 5th position now. Race leader, Lorenzo Bontempelli, lapping very nicely out there at the moment, and actually lapping a little bit quicker than Goncalo Fernandez. But we'll call this first as Nunes tries to take one of the places. Sorry, Peter Furter, it is, trying to defend from Casaniga. But yeah, if it were to end like this, that would be the championship, I think, for Rodriguez and Franca, with 19 points ahead and 15 available for the win.
As they now head down, we've got more side-by-side. Furter and currently the 9 of Casaniga coming together as they come through out of the Rogier chicane. Babini has just got past Poulsen as well. Car continues to have problems there for Rene Poulsen, who's now 4/10 ahead of Cosimo Papi. He's also in the, well, he was in the AM fight from last round, but unfortunately that came to an end after Barcelona, as the lights continue to flash here for Bontempelli up at the front. And the car 24, it's a 5-second time penalty for pit lane speeding. So there we go. So the car, that was...
Oh,
my
big
goodness!
moment, though, for the number 8 Scuderia Villorba car. Donovan Privitello, and I lost count of how many 360s that was, but somehow he's ended up pointing in roughly the right direction. But that would have been scary, arriving sideways like that into the first corner.
Yeah, certainly would be. Not great at all for him. But, we'll have to self-right. Obviously, Donovan Privitello currently 19th and ahead of Eugenio Pisani.
Stylish dismount, though.
Yeah, bit of style, it has to be said. The hazard light still on the car of Lorenzo Bontempelli so far. I don't think he has to really alert anyone right now.
He hasn't clocked that it's on.
Yeah.
Can watch this back later and think, oh, should have turned him off.
Well, yeah, probably hoping that they'll see him coming, as now it looks like Laura van den Hengel has been overtaken by Pietro Armani here. So that's P4 now for Pietro Armani, who's just looking to get as many points as he can to try and counteract the Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franca force at the moment. Remember, Rodriguez currently down in 9th, so not scoring really many points right now, has to be said.
I think he needs a top 2 if Rodriguez stays where he is. He needs a top 2 to keep the championship alive. Because if he moves up to 3rd, then it will be 15 points the gap, with obviously 15 remaining, but the countback is in Fime's team's favour.
Well, they've largely had a spirited and successful season with 4 wins already for Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franca. Winners at Portimao, Hockenheim, Paul Ricard and Barcelona. Let's take a look at the overtake here from Armani on Laura van den Hengel once again. And just a textbook move coming in towards the Rettifilo chicane, just braking in the right manner. Of course, Laura van den Hengel, she isn't going to worry too much. She's got Pro-Am concerns, so ultimately is not going to put up too much of a fight against the silver class competition.
Oh, those AM cars getting very squirrely in the background, and they do have Ian Rodriguez on the back of them. So he'll be hoping he can make his way through there, but Dieter Sveps about to pounce now on Giacomo Giabergia on the GDL car going into the Alboreto curve. Nothing doing that. It's two different teams inside the top 2 at the moment, but it's a GDL 1-2. And Sveps is going to try and do something about that. As in fact, they're actually closing up on van den Hengel as well.
That was the track gravel, I think, playing a part in that. I think it had to be said. It just literally settled right on top of it. It took the car out wide. So just a lack of grip, I think, in that moment as we just watched them come through Ascari. Dieter Schweppes now hot on the heels still of Giacomo Giobergia, still unable to get the move done, and Rodriguez largely probably getting a little bit impatient. Currently sat in behind them right now in 9th place. And 0.3 of a second away from Schweppes at the moment. De Mello, though, is the main concern for Schweppes. If he can get in front, more than enough to secure this title crown. But obviously we just want to make sure of it by getting past H. De Mello, as we now watch as the cars sprint down the Seraglio straight with 12 minutes and 50 still remaining. Lorenzo Bontempelli putting in personal bests on this lap as well, 33.7. And Meda 37.0 inside the middle sector, still continuing to bump the time up in between himself and Goncalo Fernandez.
That's a great effort. Obviously, it's a Pro-Am car that's leading the way and lapping quicker than the silver class car behind him. So great stuff from Bontempelli. That Van den Hengel's about to have an awful lot of company here. First of all, H. De Mello, multiple class winner so far this year. And he's going to try and find his way through, but look at that. We've got the 3 AM cars, H. De Mello, Giobergia and Schweppes, and then Ian Rodriguez all in a queue of cars, and then Daniel Casaniga as well for the SPE team.
Currently Babini, a ways off Laura Van den Hengel at the moment. I mean, he's 6.1 away from Daniel Casaniga right now. It's going to take an enormous amount of work. I would say that Burgers are in a very good place to definitely secure this Pro-Am title here and now in race 1, but now coming under fire from the 44 of H. De Mello, and now not only H. De Mello, but also cars further much around as well, including Giacomo Giobergia, but up the inside goes the 44, and immediately pouncing H. De Mello, heading into that P5 position. Giacomo Giobergia, Dieter Schweppes also manacled together. Here comes as well Ian Rodriguez trying to creep up the inside as they venture through Curva Grande. And it looks like Schweppes could come out on the wrong end of this now, this time, because Rodriguez with a nose in front with his own Porsche as they now come into the braking zone of the Rogier. Well, who's going to come out on top in this exchange? Looks like Rodriguez has done it. He found the angle, threaded the needle, and he will move up in front of Dieter Schweppes.
And that's critical because it was 15 points the gap to Pietro Armani and Longoni, but that's just secured it a little bit more in their favour to wrap it up for today. Oh, an awful lot of dust. The exit of Lesmo 2. So potentially Armani who's kicked that up, but as the car in front of them. But there is H. De Mello, Van den Hengel, and then it's Giobergia next to have a crack at Laura. Ian Rodriguez taking advantage of that to get around the AM Championship leader. And in fact, it might be Rodriguez who makes the move first on Giobergia. That takes a bit of the toe from Laura Van den Hengel as well. And in fact, the Guatemalan's going to make it 3 wide going into the Alboreto curve. And they both go either side of Laura Van den Hengel there. So Giobergia and Rodriguez both up a spot. Van den Hengel able to continue on her way, but probably now has got Dieter Schweppes, if not already alongside her, probably soon will be. She's looking either side, looking for that bright yellow car, usually very easy to spot, but she's looking left, she's looking right, all the way down the straight, and in fact, it's Casaniga who pounces on both Schweppes and Van den Hengel.
And all the more, Fabio Babini getting closer as well, 4.8. His last lap, incidentally, Fabio Babini was a 1:49.522. Laura Van den Hengel, 1:52.461. So I must say, with the way it's strung out, this could lead to a close battle between Babini and Laura Van den Hengel at the very end of the race.
Well, so Casaniga's just taken 3rd position in the class, and Babini does have Schweppes between himself and Van den Hengel. But even if they outscore him, they need to outscore them a little bit more than just 1 place, because there's 13 points between them and 8 up for grabs tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Obviously, they ideally need to score the maximum at the very least, and then some, really, to help their cause. But we'll wait and see as to when the flag comes out, as to where they situate. Still 8 minutes and 46 to go. Anything can happen in the closing stages here in the GT Cup Europe. Schweppes now has got past Van den Hengel, this time on the run into Ascari. And getting that move done, which now means that Laura van den Hengel and Fabio Babini, for now at the very least, are now going to be next to each other in our timing screen. So there you can see Babini just in the rear of shots, as now here comes Rodriguez on the back of Giobergia. Still no move in the offing as they come through Kerber Alboreto. Then a run down towards Retafilio could provide an opportunity here for Rodriguez, who's only 3/10 away from Giobergia right now. The Porsche's stretching down through towards turn 1 here at Monza. Here comes Rodriguez now, right in the coattails, looking to move up into P6 to once again counteract Armani's efforts. Higher up the roster in P4, and it will be Rodriguez up into P6.
This is just making things a little bit more comfortable now for Fine's team. It's been a topsy-turvy race, but that should very much be enough for them to wrap up the title here. In fact, look at that. There's only a couple of cars between the two cars now.
Yeah, it's well, there's only one.
Yeah, no, only one now, yeah. It's just H. Mello.
Yeah, H. Mello is the only one in between, and I would argue that Rodriguez could yet put a dent in that prior to the end of this race. 7 minutes and 20 to go. Of course, Rodriguez's last lap was a decent one as well to cap that, 1:48.996, if I'm reading that correctly, and yes, I certainly am. And if you compare that to Armani's, obviously he did a 1:48.336, so better get even better than that for Rodriguez. H. Mello lapping 1:49.1, so we're talking a couple of tenths better off is Rodriguez right now in comparison to the AM leader, H. Mello, in 5th place. But Bontempelli about to cross the line once more, still with hazard lights ablaze. 23 laps now in the books, 9.9 ahead of Giancarlo Fernandez, who is doing a tremendous job at the moment in second, has now brought the time down, in fact, his last lap quicker than Bontempelli by 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a little bit random. I'm sure Bontempelli had a little bit of traffic on that lap, potentially, because he was getting around the Lamborghini, wasn't he? That might account for some of it. Certainly, so far, since Bontempelli took over the car, has had the pace in hand over Fernandez. So it'll be Nicolas Salins at the moment joining them on the podium. Pietro Armani is closing in on Salins. 2 seconds quicker on that previous lap, 6 seconds the gap, with 6 minutes to go.
Yeah, Florentin Zescu getting past Paulson as well for 16th. There is Luca Franca, looking as stern as ever. He knows what this could mean. The championship very near in the clutches as Casaniga gets confirmed P7 now on Giobergia. So starting to move up the rostrum, and that does obviously cement their place higher up inside this top 10, but they're currently operating, more importantly, 3rd in the Pro-Am class. And looks like Babini has already caught up with Laura van den Hengel as well in the battle over P10 overall, but also Pro-Am 4th place. And of course Babini, who is a bit of a sports car legend in some ways, competed in various races across many different disciplines, but also more notoriously the Le Mans 24-hour that he's been largely a part of. And really is passionate about his motorsport, is Fabio Babini. 4 tenths now away from Laura van den Hengel. So that Pro-Am battle for picture. Heading down towards the hairpin bend at the Alboreto corner now. Schweppes still on the tail of Giobergia, has been locked in behind. Let's see where van den Hengel and Babini operates. Who's going to swap? Is van den Hengel going to hold on at least for one more lap? Or is it all going to come to an end?
Probably when rather than if.
Looks like it might have already happened.
Fabio's out-dragged her out of the Alboreto curve. So he's ahead of the timing line. That's a change for 4th in Pro-Am. But that is only going to be 1 point taken out of van den Hengel and Paul Meyer's lead. So it's still very good for Burgers in terms of the Pro-Am Championship.
Yeah, it's not going to do too much damage, I think, at this point in time. Looks like it's going to be closed out come the end of this, unless Babini can do something really special. But further back, it looks like van den Hengel's got company now from Nathan Brauns as well, who's part of the AM class, currently ahead of Cosimo Papi in the AM, as well as they come out of the Roger chicane. Just see them in the distance, as now we see Schweppes makes his way through the first Lesmo. But Looks like now that Nathan Brawns could move himself up into P11 very, very shortly. Bontempelli, Fernandez, Salins, your top three. Armani now 4.8 away from Salins. There is Luca Franca.
It does look like they're going to win the championship, doesn't it? Same for Van den Hengel and Meijer. And with Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins at the moment only losing 4 points to H. de Mello, that should be wrapped up as well.
Yeah.
With 9 points the difference. Yeah. With one race remaining.
Yeah, does look that way. Goncalo Fernandez has just passed Bontempelli on our time. What has happened to Bontempelli? Now, he's just dropped down 2 places on our screen. What on earth has happened? Unless it's a glitch, I'm not quite sure, but all of a sudden he's in free fall, and his last lap was a 2:05.
He's slow.
My goodness. Well, there were hazard lights for a reason, but it didn't come until late on. High drama. And it looks like it might be fuel, potentially. Deary me, drama here for Bontempelli, Lorenzo Bontempelli in the 403, and it's now provided Nicolas Salins with Goncalo Fernandez with the race lead. Salins P2. As now we see Laura van den Hengel on the tail of the 23 of Cosimo Papi. Papi now up into 12th.
Well, drama at the end. And so that is going to give Q1 Track Racing a second win of the season. First of all, and now Armani and Co can be on the podium, but that is Lorenzo Bontempelli going very couple of minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, could well be. Armani now has inherited a podium place off the back of that as well overall. So now 3.5 away from Nicolas Salins, as now once again Ian Rodriguez starts haunting the back of H. de Mello. 10 to be firmly focused on Rodriguez right now. There's Dieter Schweppes, who's giving chase after Gia Berger, as he has done so for a mighty part of this second stint that we have witnessed. Once again, Rodriguez having a little poke around the outside of H. de Mello, trying to bridge that points gap even closer to Pietro Armani, to all but certainly wrap the championship title here and now as the final lap begins, Chris.
Yep, Goncalo Fernandez, 3.6 clear of Nicolas Salins. And although Pietro Armani should score the podium here, as we can just see the moment where it all started to go. And look
There's
at Diego de Fabio's reaction there. Very, very disappointed, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
I'll just make sure that hasn't actually changed anything, because it'll be 10 points for Pietro Armani and 6 points for... Oh, now that might keep things alive. That car, that Ferrari pulling over to the side of the road might, by 1 point, keep the overall championship alive.
It is possible right now. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, H. de Mello could be the difference maker here, because obviously Rodriguez currently all over his rear wing. Regardless, obviously, we'll wait and see as Goncalo Fernandez makes his way through the Ascari chicane, 3.9 ahead of Nicolas Salins. As it stands, Pietro Armani currently down in third as well, inheriting that podium spot, as now Bontempelli limps limps the car back home. But we'll keep our eyes panned to the front, because Goncalo Fernandez makes his way around the final corner through Kerber Alboreto for the final time here in race 1 at Monza, with Nicolas Salins 3.9 seconds back. It's gonna go to Goncalo Fernandez. He wins race 1 here in the GT Cup Europe at Monza in Italy. Nicolas Salins home in second. Pietro Armani has his championship been saved for now. He's gonna make his way through and take third here at Monza as well. H. de Mello will, of course, cap things off with an AM victory in his pursuit to try and maintain his championship hopes. Of course, we'll take a look at the numbers very shortly. Rodriguez in 5th.
I think it has 14 points is the difference.
He's kept it
not
alive.
Enough. They've kept it alive by 1 point.
Remarkable stuff. Q1 Track Racing celebrating, though. They've had grand successes in the past in this championship over multiple years. Jan Lauritsen supplied a lot of it. Of course, he was a former winner 3 times in a row from 2022 to 2023 was Jan Lauritsen, but they can celebrate once more. Last season, it was Stinas Longin and Nicolas Salins lifting them to the very top. Now this time, it's Goncalo Fernandez. There is Luca Franca. He may have to wait another day.
Yeah, I think he does. So, great stuff. Q1 track racing with not a 1-2 finish overall, meanwhile, and a double victory because, of course, it's victory in the Pro-Am classification as well. Meanwhile, I do believe that Laura van den Hengel and Paul Meijer have sealed the Pro-Am championship with a 4th place finish, it should be, for Laura. Which, yeah, should be 8-6-4 and 8-6-4-3, so 5 points the difference. Yeah, that should... Oh, actually, oh, blimey. Okay, we're going to have to do quite a bit of math. That actually might now be... We'd have to go to count back on that one if there's an 8-point difference. So we'll double check that one. That's actually very, very tight.
Well, let's run through the classification for race 1 here in Italy for the GT Cup Europe. Fernandez and Zainen taking a marvellous victory for Q1 Track Racing. Make that a 1-2 with Stina's Longin and Nicholas Salins returning to the track where they won last year. Armani and Longoni in 3rd. May have just kept their title hopes alive by 1 solitary point. H. de Mello in 4th place in AM class, but also AM class winner Longin and Salins, of course, Pro-Am class winners once again here at Monza. Further back, Franca Rodriguez in 5th place. Galli and Kazaniga further back with Giacomo Gierberger, Dieter Schweppes, Fabio Babini, Cosimo Papi, Laura van den Hengel and Paul Meijer in 11th, ahead of Van Dieren, Donk and Braun, Gianluca Diorgis 13th, then comes Perrin and Tentescu, Nunes and Furter, Halder and Poulsen, who had their problems, Privatellios then further back then as well, Lugini Peroni, Ivan Velasco, Bonton Pele after their problems, unfortunately towards the end not finishing the race. Eugenio Pisani, of course, a retirement, as was Ramagnoli and Lorini as well. This is how the championship looks. 110 points now for Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franca. They are 18 points clear of Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani, and Lars Zanen, Goncalo Fernandez in 3rd, Laura van den Hengel, of course, coming home in 4th. Parc Ferme now for the drivers at the head of the order, and full celebrations begin. Goncalo Fernandez, a fabulous display to win a tremendous race, and it's a fantastic result here for the Q1 Track Racing team, who celebrate in style. Goncalo Fernandez, a victor here, taking that checkered flag. And that's something he's going to be very proud of indeed. Their 2nd win of the season. Another podium as well in their pocket. Make that podium number 5 in total. A tremendous achievement. Nicholas Salins, as I mentioned, winner here last year alongside Stina's Longin in Pro-Am class and overall in race 1. Well, they're Pro-Am winners this time. May not be overall, but Pro-Am winners, which is what counts for them. And looking to finish their season in style as well. Of course, this season not fighting for Pro-Am Championship glory, but it's always nice to finish on a high. Elsewhere, Pietro Armani doing the business in terms of finishing in P3. Title hopes may yet still survive here by 1 solitary point. What have you got for us, Chris?
So with the maths I've been doing, I do think it is Paul Meijer and Laura van den Hengel Pro-Am champions, and van den Hengel the first woman to win in GT Sport competition, but we'll get that confirmed later on. And Leandro Martins and Dieter Schweppes, according to my maths, is back-to-back AM champions in GT Cup.
Yeah, an immense performance off the back of their efforts. Obviously, it was all about Dieter Schweppes' last-minute charge. Could not get past Giacomo Gierberger, but it might not matter. H. de Mello, though, he did everything he could to keep his title hopes alive, taking victory here once again. And in fact, well, we're going to stand by. We've got an interview. Oh, first and foremost, top 3. It's going to be Armani and Longoni finishing 3rd. Title hopes remain alive by 1 single point for this pairing. They did what they needed. They did what they could. Nicholas Salins, Stina's Longin returning to glory here at Monza in Pro-Am class. Victors here once again. 2 years running now. But Goncalo Fernandez, he takes the spoils alongside Lars Zanen, winners for the 2nd time this season, and they are with Alfredo Filippone.
And we have the winners in Monza Race 1, Lars Zanen, Gonzalo Fernandez. 2nd win of the year. Great race. Little help from the fortune.
Yeah, first of all, it's hard to be in the Ferrari position. We wish them the best. It's tough. We were there just last race in Barcelona. We were leading in 10 seconds, and when the car goes, it's none of your fault. But for us, I mean, we are happy because we got our win back. We did an amazing job throughout the year. A lot of unlucky moments that put us out of the championship, but I think we have a good pair between me and Lars. Lars did an amazing job. He has a really good pace here. I just had to go on the car, keep it consistent, and bring it home, basically.
Good. And Lars, you seem very happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy because Barcelona was not the position we wanted. So we are very happy now. The team did a mega job with the car, and we just need to bring it home. So let's push tomorrow again. Eh?
Time to enjoy now.
Yeah,
well done.
Thank you.
Well, let's take a look back at the highlights from Monza Race 1. It was a fantastic start for the Fimes team as they made their way down towards Turn 1, but have later tagged the back of our eventual challengers for the victory. Of course, it did not work out in the end. De Fabio getting caught in the rear arm. Ludovico Longoni also moving into the gravel chap. Of course, remember, championship contenders for this one. Paul Meijer had a very busy start. It wasn't a great getaway, unfortunately. After nabbing pole in qualifying, he was ultimately up against it, though he did make his way through past numerous cars on his way to claiming a higher position before coming in for the driver change, eventually sweeping past Luca Franca. Luca Franca then later coming under close quarter as well with Longoni, or should we say Rodriguez, and Armani hitting side by side, coming through the first chicane. Later on, we saw the ZRS team moving by, the driver change window in full swing. Laura van den Hengel stepping inside the car in place of Paul Meijer. She would eventually get caught by Pietro Armani during the second stint, for the ZRS driver looking to try and secure at least a chance at lifting the overall title this weekend. He's trying to keep their hopes alive. Plenty of movements elsewhere as well. Rodriguez moving up close and personal and past Giacomo Gierbergia in the initial. Coming through the first two corners on this Monza racetrack, though, the disaster came for Lorenzo Bontempelli. What looked to be a fuel issue towards the end, or a problem with the car. It forfeited their race lead, handing it on a plate to Goncalo Fernandez and Lars Zanen, who would celebrate a second win of the season, with also Nicholas Salins and Stina Zongin returning to victory here at Monza as well in Pro-Am class. So we now look ahead to the podium celebrations. Of course, the top three spaces occupied by Lars Zanen, Goncalo Fernandez, Nicholas Salins, Stinas Longin, also Pietro Armani, Ludovico Longoni. They will stand tall on the top three steps of the podium. Fastest lap also taken by Armani and Ludovico Longoni as well at the end of the race. And proved to be a decisive race for them. Here comes the national anthem. So there we are. National anthem rings out here at the Temple of Speed. Certainly been a very compelling battle. And the championship set to stay alive right to the bitter end. It's going to be a decisive race too coming up tomorrow. They are the grand architects of why it still continues here in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Pietro Armani, a very busy final stint as now the Michelin representative prepares to present the second place trophies also to Nicholas Salins and Stinas Longin. And then finally, the recipients of the winning trophy, Goncalo Fernandez, Lars Zanen, celebrating a second success this campaign, will now receive the winning trophy from the representative of the Monza the racetrack, lifting it aloft in grand celebration. Fantastic race, Chris.
It had a lot, didn't it? Certainly a lot of drama out there. That great result for Lars Zanen, Goncalo Fernandez. That rally convert is Fernandez. Great result for Q1 Track Racing. Of course, these are the kind of results we were used to seeing from them in years gone by, but there's been some new protagonists out there now, haven't they? They've been toppled from the head of the championship. I think it's only 1 year they haven't won the team's championship, and it's about to be a second, I think, because it should, be going the way of the Fimes team tomorrow.
It's been a while since, of course, Jan Lauritsen was representing the Q1 track racing team to success, overall champion, and did a tremendous job, of course, in obtaining that. John de Wilde and, of course, Sander Prisbalak, Lauren van der Velde, back-to-back AM champions in 2022 and 2023. Supplying that for Q1.
Yeah, it's weird not to be talking about them in any of the championship fights, to be honest, because they've normally got a car fighting for all of them. Yeah. But, no, it's extraordinary. There's Fabio Babini, Davide Scanicchio. Fabio's first race of 3 this weekend. Of course, doing the GT Open as well with the Tsunami team in the GT3 car. International drivers signed for oversteer, that is.
Yeah. Super Beanie's very experienced, and like we said, across multiple disciplines, he has competed at the highest level. Waiting for the word to go out, celebrating with Nicolas Saylor, seen as long. A big thumbs up there from Fabio Babini, and for good reason, I'm sure. But Steen Longin and Nicolas Saylor are preparing to go straight back out again. Be a short visit to the back room before they then head back out once more. But it will be the P3 step for now for Fabio Babini, Davide Scanicchio. Grand effort on their part to achieve that, and also second place Daniel Kazaniga, along with Gali alongside him. Longin and Salins, though, back on top. Back-to-back years they have taken a Pro-Am win at Monza.
Great result there for Andrea Gali in his first year of racing, I believe, with competition, the Porsche Sports Cup Switzerland with the Dynamic team alongside Danielle. Coming here and doing a very good job indeed to be on the podium in first race. And the podium being rounded out by the Tsunami team. Second in the championship.
The Michelin representative kindly supplying the trophies to the winning team. And once again, it will be Q1 on top so far. It's been a weekend to remember for them at the moment.
Unlike last year. Weekend to forget, where the championship rather fell apart for them, but replacing it with happier memories on the podium.
Well, they'll be hoping that race 2 is distinctly better than last year anyway.
Yes, of course.
The champagne being sprayed, and wonderful visit for Babini and Scanicchio. And a warm welcome, Daniele Kazaniga and Gali as well alongside him. Now we take a turn to the AM class, where Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins have now captured the AM class championship title. And they can just enjoy the remaining race that's coming up tomorrow, but more importantly, they'll enjoy the spoils here this time around. Third in AM class, behind Giacomo Giobergia. They tried their best to get past him, proved to be not the case towards the bitter end. H. de Mello pulling off a fantastic effort through the course of the race to manifest a AM class victory. It's all about those two on the right-hand side, back-to-back champions in AM class.
They get to celebrate it with the podium as well. That's always a good move. Giacomo Giobergia with a podium finish for only the 4th time this season. In fact, his best finish this season. Had 3 third-place finishes up until this point, and now up there in second place for H. de Mello. It's a 4th victory of the season in the AM category. It wasn't quite enough, we think, to stop Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins claiming that championship.
Well, and they become the first team in AM class as well to go back-to-back in terms of championship wins as well. H. de Mello will lift the winning trophy aloft in the AM class with the Brazilian flag in hand. But folks, That is all from day one here in the GT Cup Europe. Join us tomorrow, where once again we have qualifying and the final race of the season. But from all of us here, it's goodbye.